All right, looks like it's 1 minute after 4. Sorry about being late. I guess it's time to call to order the Board of Public Works rate and fee public hearing. And one thing I'd like to do before Paul starts his schedule of rate and fees and what the charges are is to let everyone here know that.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can we call our meeting to order real quick?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, good idea.
I didn't know if you guys were going to take a roll or what you were doing on this, so I just call our special call city council.
Yeah, good idea.
Order and ask for the clerk to call the roll.
Councilman Haycraft.
Here.
Councilwoman Azatea. Here. Councilman Cohen. Councilman Leaders.
Here.
Councilman Fleetwood. Mayor Pro Tem Munger.
Here.
Mayor McCoy.
Here. Ready, quorum.
And since you have since it is a special call, could you please take a motion to excuse Cohen and Fleetwood?
I'll make a motion to excuse Fleetwood and Cohen.
A motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, John.
Thank you. If anybody's on Facebook, they probably know Cindy O'Laughlin. She is pretty public about what she talks about. She's a representative, and she's pretty well studied on a lot of things and has some opinions about rural Missouri. And in a Facebook post recently, she went through the reasons that she understands why electric rates in Missouri are high and going to go higher. In her post, and I'm going to try to get through this really quickly, there are investor-owned utilities, and they're paid based on investments in energy-producing facilities plus a profit margin. The second item that she quotes has to do with the demand, and that federal and state entities are pushing to go away from coal and towards renewables. And when we look at solar, we are only getting 18% of the demand capability, even though we're paying 100% of the costs. If you look across the country, states with the highest power prices are the states that have imposed large green energy mandates, solar and wind. And also the power lines were built in the 70s and 80s, and to push that clean energy across the state, they're talking about needing to build more wires that go across the state. Anyway, there are also a number of things that are worthwhile looking into, and we have a document here that I believe copies are there, and you can make them available to yourself. But what I've done is put together a list of opinions from kind of across a lot of sectors. There is an article by a group called Choose Energy about energy rates by state and how high they are and how low they are in different states. For example, Hawaii is up to 41 cents per kilowatt hour, California 31. We are currently, 11?
Our residential rate for residential customers is 11.687 cents. Yep.
And another article. Now, reason I'm telling you about these articles is because I'd really encourage you to look at these different ones, and they're kind of long-winded, but they get into exacting details. And in order to get these links to these articles, you can email Courtney, and she'll send you this document. So you just click on the link, and you can read the whole article. Missouri is among the states being with the biggest rate increases. That's through a group called stlamerica.com. What causes electricity bills to be high? A group called Next Amp gets into that. Utility rate hikes affect 56 million Americans. That's a in-depth article by CBS. Missouri demand change on high electric bills. That's through a group called Retail Energy Choice. NPR has a good article about electricity bills, utilities, and AI. And Missouri braces for energy cost spikes. That's a in-depth article through KSDK News. Anyway, I encourage you to get this document emailed to you because that gives you direct links to a pretty broad group of opinions about the kind of things that we're facing here and across the country. Anyway, those are the couple things I just wanted to bring up. And if we could go to Paul next for his look at the schedule of rates and fees.
Can I go let me go real quick also and emphasize what's going on. 6 months ago, we were here, we were asking for a rate increase, we got a 9%. We recognized that that was not everything we'd asked for at that time. With the input from the mayor and city council, from the board, we'd had a 9% increase. We also said we would be reviewing this again come mid-year, which is a fiscal year, which means now. We looked at that and we are coming back to you again. We need to have a 7% rate increase. This is why. Just recently, we looked at our debt coverage ratio, which we have to have in order to maintain our borrowing, our physical financial health that we have, and that is under immense scrutiny. We were downgraded last year, and we are looking at having another rating hearing in about this coming Thursday, which we're going to have to show them how we're going to be meeting those requirements we have for the bonds and the things that we've already borrowed. We were very, very, very tight. But then came January, early January, and mid-January, where we had Winter Storm Fern. What John just shared from Cindy O'Loughlin was absolutely correct. We had not just ourselves, which is MISO, which is the center of this nation. Go ahead and change the next. But you can see these are the temperatures that were hit throughout the nation. Go ahead and turn to the next. And when that happens, there's a problem with solar and with renewables that have been touted as the absolute end-all that's going to save us for all of our energy needs. Next. During this winter storm, the following occurred. Solar and wind usually take and produce about 24% of the load of this nation. During this storm, it produced only 2% or 11, up to 11. Depends on the nation, there's the state that you're sitting in. And it underperformed incredibly. It's like turning the lights off. And because of that, go to the next. This is what they performed at. They didn't do hardly anything per the nameplate. So they say they can get 18% of the nameplate. They were performing at less than 11%. So we had to make up the difference. Next. And what the nation did is we turned on the coal. And the coal is reliable whether the sun shines or not. You can put fuel into the furnace burns, you create electricity. However, that coal-fired plant doesn't turn on like that, doesn't turn off like that, and it costs a lot of money. You've seen this chart before. This chart shows that on a real-time basis, on January 24th, people were having to buy power at over $2,000 per megawatt. Now, normally, we're buying it at $23 and $28 or $30. You can do the math on that. That's a multiple of several hundred times. And this is what happens when we take and start relying on renewables instead of things that are reliable and can actually put energy into the ground. Now, you may say, well, what are you doing to prepare for this? Two things. Number one, we know that these events are going to happen once in a while. We had Uri, which hit us about 4 years ago. But if we have a robust and healthy reserve fund, we can absorb that and then we can go on, because the other 360 days a year, we're buying it at that $30 mark. We're buying it at the $25 mark. And we're able to give you the very best and reliable prices available. So we are following a policy. We have a reserve fund, so long as it's funded, and we're able to manage these sort of instances. But we have shorted ourselves of late. So that's number one. Number two, are we looking into the future? Yes, we are. We are participating in the Northeast Power Generation Project. It is a peaker plant that we're going to be building out at the industrial park. If that had been in the ground, we wouldn't have been purchasing perhaps that power, but we'd have been selling it. If we'd had that in the ground for that week, we estimate that we would have made for that plant approximately $1,080,000. That's a positive. And so we're looking to the future. We're doing our jobs. We're coming back to you with the need for a rate increase of about 7%. Next one, I think this is just the same issue put into words. Next. This is, if we look at our rates compared to several others, if you look, the website this came off is findenergy.com. This is what our residential costs are. You'll see Hannibal, we're at 12.89 cents. Average bill is about $127.25. Rawls County, Ameren, Columbia, Macon, Rolla, Kirkwood, Fulton, Vandalia, Palmyra, Perry, Shelbina. You can look at what those comparisons are. And that we are on the upper right, that 41 of the 121, there's 121 communities in Missouri that were looked at. We are not the cheapest, but we're also not the highest by any way, shape, or form. I am done. Thank you. Paul, if you want to get into the details, go for it.
All right. First off, thank you, board members, mayor, city council, everybody here for being here. I do hope that we can provide just a little education and context for what we're looking at here. Because folks, we do have a problem in this industry, and it's been going on for a little while now. I hope you recognize that. The fact that we're here for the fourth time doing this in just 3 years tells you that we have a problem. And so we do recognize that and want you to know that this is not something that we would want to have to do. But we are in this position, and so hopefully we can provide a little bit more color here. Let me switch over and just give, like I said, a little bit more detail with what we've been seeing here. And so what we had last month is we did discuss the potential for an additional rate adjustment. Just a few days, we met on January 20th. Winter Storm Fern, which Darren just referenced, swept across the nation about 3 days after our meeting. And so what I'm gonna show here is this is a normal Sunday, if I can find it. There we go. This is a normal Sunday as I zoom in here for what we would pay on the day ahead market for our purchase power. So really quickly, as without getting into the weeds, we essentially buy power from that MISO grid. So we have to tell that grid how much power that we need for the next day. All right. And then MISO, who is the grid operator that runs that entire power grid, they look at weather conditions, they look at outages that generators are going to have, and they set a market price for that power. A typical Sunday in January, as you can see right here, the average price that we would pay for that power is about $22.78 for an hour's worth of power. Going back historically, that actually follows very historical trends on a normal Sunday in January. Industries aren't typically running. People are at home. We don't have quite as much demand. And so we have a very low demand there. What we saw just 2 weeks later with Winter Storm Fern was this pricing, where at 1 a.m. the price skyrocketed to $680. Darren showed that to you. This is just on the day ahead, so this is what we bid into the market. Real-time prices, when we're actually at that 1 a.m. hour, reached over $2,000 for a single megawatt hour of power during this winter storm. As many of you know, this event was significant, especially down in the southern states because of the ice that it received. They received all kinds of damage to infrastructure. We were fortunate that we did not receive any of that ice here in Hannibal. I don't believe we even had a single outage during this event. However, we were not as fortunate where we saw the extreme pricing volatility that you see here. And so what this boils down to, the week leading up to Winter Storm Fern, I'm going to show here what a normal invoice from MISO would look like. see if I can zoom in here. So a normal invoice from ISO, they bill us on a weekly basis about $184,000. We actually budgeted about $175,000. So this week before the winter storm is about as normal as you can get for a week worth of power in MISO. This gives a little detail on each day's worth. Energy-wise, the invoice that we just paid for the week of Winter Storm Fern was $1,571,000. That's for a single week's worth of power. For the month, we budgeted $645,000 for energy for the entire month. This is what we spent in a week. So the impact there, the net impact, is that we expect about $2.4 million to hit our books for energy for the month of February, and we had budgeted $645,000. For a single day's worth of power, we paid $338,000. What MISO does when they set these prices is they look to determine how much generation that they have available. And so in setting such a high price, it signals that they did not have enough demand to meet supply. Obviously, with how cold it was, we were in the single digits for an extended period of time. They lost all kinds of generation that they expected to have. Darren talked about the solar that was not able to be online and all kinds of other stuff. And so by jacking that price up, it's sending a signal to any generators that are out on the market to tell them that, hey, if you can at any way possible run, we need as much generation as we can get. And we're going to pay you handsomely if you can run. So that is what that price signal does. Unfortunately, here in Hannibal, we don't have our own generation. And so we do buy the majority of our power from the marketplace here with MISO. Darren talked about the future and what we're looking to do to mitigate that. We do have a couple other avenues of mitigation, just for full disclosure here. When it comes to buying your power, you could do what's called a full requirements contract, where you said, I want my entire power supply need for the year. I want a set price, and I want to pay that all year long. That's absolutely an option that we would certainly have. However, you have to remember, if we go back to this January day, that you're going to pay a premium for that full requirements contract. I think the last time we looked, it was somewhere around $72 a megawatt hour. And so there's going to be days where you win. $72 is significantly cheaper than what we paid here. So absolutely that would make sense. But there's also going to be days where you lose, right? And so there is a risk here when it comes to purchasing power. And that is what we, as an institution and our board, we balance every day when we go out and set that budget. And looking at what avenues do we have to mitigate this risk. So what we have done as the Board of Public Works is we have done a self-managed portfolio where we do buy a portion of our energy from the MISO market. And then we have recognized that there are certain times of the year that are more volatile. Summer would be one and winter would be another. And so what we have done is we have hedged our energy during those times of the year. And what a hedge is we go out with a third-party contract. We get a set amount of power at a set price, and a portion of that is done and taken care of. We don't even have to worry about what the market price is. And so we have done that for the last several years. We did have 10 megawatts hedged during the winter month, during January. The price that we paid for that was $60 a megawatt hour. So again, you would look here and say, well, we won with that hedge on this day. But again, if you look at other days throughout the year, we absolutely would have lost a little bit. And so that's what we're looking at when it comes to hedging this risk and the extreme volatility that we're seeing right now. Let's go on here and look at what's upcoming. So this is a diagram that shows the MISO invoices going back to September. I failed to get a trend line in there, but if you looked at our entire 12-month budget, we budgeted about $165,000 a week for purchase power. Going back to September, we were pretty close to that. We had a little bit of a spike there in September and October, which we'll actually talk about later in the meeting why that was. But if I put a trend line in there at about at that $160,000 mark, we're right around that, pretty close to budget. Here is Winter Storm Fern. Not double, not triple what we budgeted, but obviously 8 times more than what we budgeted. And so in total, I think I mentioned this already, we do expect to pay $2.4 million in the month of February for power because of this storm. We haven't seen this type of volatility since Winter Storm Uri, like Darren mentioned. Back then, our highest invoice was $958,000. And so still extreme volatility, but not even to this magnitude. So getting into the details of the rate adjustment, it would take effect on March 4th, which is the quickest our charter would allow. It would generate approximately $570,000 of new revenue for the remainder of fiscal year 2026. That does put us back on track to meet our required debt service coverage ratio. And so our lender, our lender in our electric fund has said, has made a covenant that you must have 25% more revenue than expenses every year. And the reason they do that, it's a very normal practice, is to ensure that every year you're not experiencing several significant losses in a row that would inhibit you from paying your debt service. We have failed that debt service coverage ratio now 3 years in a row. And so Darren mentioned we've had our rating downgraded. Essentially, the easiest way to think about that is your credit score. Our credit score has been downgraded from, let's just say, 750 to 700. Now, future lenders are obviously saying it is more risky to lend money to you. And so there's 2 things that they can do. One, they can either charge you a higher interest rate. We're still going to loan you money, but we recognize that there's more risk. And so we're going to charge you a higher interest rate to make sure that we still make enough money from you to cover that extra risk that we're taking on. Or 2, they could decide that they won't loan you money at all. Similar to if your credit score dips to a low enough level, banks won't lend money to you. With this rate increase, I mentioned it was $570,000 of new revenue. It does have us on track to meet the debt coverage ratio. We would still lose about $282,000 in our cash reserves from where we started at the beginning of the fiscal year. Up to this point, every rate increase that we've proposed to you as a board has met both the debt service coverage ratio requirement and the requirement of our cash reserve policy. This one doesn't get us close to what the cash reserve policy would require. If we were to meet the requirements of that cash reserve policy that you all are aware of, it would require a 27.5% rate increase on March 4th. And so that is the volatility that we're looking at and the magnitude. Before we get on to discussion, you do have a red line draft of the schedule of rates and fees on there. But are there any questions from the board before I move on to just the next topic?
When you do the day ahead, and that's just like they tell you what it's going to cost, and then the real time comes in, you pay the real time no matter what, right? It's not
That's
like the day ahead's just kind of to help you with your set your budget.
No, that's a really good question. So we pay, let's go back to it here. We pay what we submitted on the day ahead, right? And so if we looked at that first day, which actually this is the 24th, which would be the Monday of Winter Storm Fern, we submitted a day ahead bid. So basically we purchased $251,000 of power. That was not quite enough. Based on this amount here, we had to go out and purchase more. We didn't quite bid in enough. Our load, for whatever reason, was higher than what we bid on the day ahead. And so we spent another $87,000 on that real-time price to buy additional power.
So it wasn't that you underbid the price, you underbid the amount.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Now, on these days, it was the opposite. We bid in a little bit more than what we needed. And because of that, we were able to sell a little bit excess back onto the market at this real-time price. And so we actually had a net a credit here on these days. And when I say we, this is a third party that handles this for us, our power supply consultants. This isn't something that we're not speculating here and looking at prices and trying to determine, we should bid in this much and then sell this much. It doesn't work like that. There's an algorithm that they use to determine how much they expect we will need every day.
Do we monitor their success rate
Yeah.
and determine if that third party is the best third party to be using?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a really good question. It's difficult because they're right half the time, wrong half the time. And yeah, we go over kind of at the end of the year some of those, and they give us weekly reports of, hey, yeah, we were off here. You got a really large real-time adjustment. And so we kind of monitor that based on their weekly summary that they give to us on, I guess, how well they did. Why were we off so much this day? And we have had, I'll be honest, we've had a few issues where they haven't adjusted exactly right every day. And so we've made some tweaks. We've gotten additional reports that show us certain things like that would show variances. But yeah,
we've also looked at others that provide those services to see what it would take for them to do it and cost, et cetera. So we're comparing, we're looking at it, we're holding their feet.
Yeah.
I got a quick question, Paul. Is this energy strictly from Grainbelt, was it? Or what was the supplier? Or is it Ameren? Is that, can you purchase from Ameren? Can you purchase from any generator out there?
that's a great question. So when it comes to the power that we buy from MISO, we have no idea where it's coming from. Yep, it could be from a coal plant in Nebraska. It could be from anywhere, really. And so, yeah, that we don't actually know when it comes off the market.
And we're limited to buy from MISO. Like that's what we have to use.
Correct. Yep. The only way outside of that, like I mentioned, would be to hedge all of our load or to do a full requirements contract where we're contracting with a third party to do all of this for us, essentially. Yeah, I'm going to actually, before we take discussion from the public, I'm going to move on to my next topic real quick. And then anybody that has a question, I think we're going to have them come up to the microphone and address the board, and then we can kind of handle it that way if that's okay. The only other change that we have real quick on the schedule of rates and fees is you'll notice that we have an economic development incentive program. We are taking that out of the actual schedule of rates and fees. We are working currently on a separate economic development incentive package that we are putting together. I think you guys kind of know this, but the reason we have an economic development incentive is that if there is a potential business industry that's looking to locate here, we want them to invest here. We want the new jobs. We want them to build new infrastructure or modify existing infrastructure. And so we're willing to give them a discount in order to get them here for a couple of years and then have them pay full rate after a certain time period. Rather than having that on our actual schedule of rates and fees, we are developing a separate policy for that. And so we're just looking at taking that out of the schedule of rates and fees. But if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to sit down, and then anybody that has a question from the public can come up here and ask if that works for you, John.
Yeah, we do have a sign-up sheet, and what I'd ask is whoever is signed up, and I'll not limit it to just this because we're going to have comments later, but if you could go up to the podium and talk into the microphone, that'd be wonderful. Looks like we have Travis Jones.
Yep.
There you are.
What's going on? I'm not a quiet one in this community. A couple of you guys, I know Darren Gordon's met me before. I'm not very nice, and quite frankly, I'm quite pissed about this. I see a lot of failures, and I see a lot of mismanagement of funds. And you guys can argue with me or whatever, I don't care. But, I mean, I'm just going to use the two states that you used, Hawaii. You used on there as far as an example. 60 to 80% of their stuff's imported. California, I think that's like 40% imported from California. Kind of know that one. I'm an implant from this area. And what's going on here is ridiculous. You're basically what you just said up there, or what's on that deal is they can just price you out. Am I incorrect on that? Where'd he go? They can just price you out. So you said on any given day, the rates and stuff can go up and down, right? So if we have say we have a bad month, I've been in Missouri for a number of years. We've had months where we're covered under snow. So you're saying that $1 million, that's going to cover for a couple of months. So there's going to, what happens then? We're going to talk about a 27% interest or 20%. I'm trying to calm down, not cuss. My nature is to cuss. So I apologize if I kind of stutter a little bit. You're saying that right now, in order for us to meet and break even, is 27% is of an increase to break even.
Well, to put it in terms of what he said was, there are two components of how much we bring in over our costs. One is enough to pay the bills, plus a small amount that we have to add to meet our rate covenants for the loans that we have.
Yeah.
And future requirements. And the other one is to build up reserves that we've already spent. So in order to do both of those, it would require a 24% increase, but we're kind of getting away from the policy that we have agreed to, and that is to keep the reserve funds funded, and we're just looking to increase it only enough to pay the bills with a reasonable buffer to comply with our lease covenants.
But I think what he was saying earlier is in order to get to a zero balance where we don't have to cut into the reserve funds, was it was going to have to raise up to 27% if we were to do it now, correct?
That was in order to get back to the covenant, which is the debt service, or not the debt service, the cash reserves covenant, which the board set.
Okay.
And that's used for when they do go over, they dip into the reserves.
Okay.
But we, as a board, to keep the cost down, have agreed to forego that covenant for the time being, and so we can keep costs down and try to recoup it over a slower period of time.
And then we did this in October. I unfortunately wasn't here. I was away on some training. But we raised the rate up 6%, which was, everyone was like, hey, it's probably not going to happen. We're going to probably have to raise it up again. But the original percentages that we're going to go up were, what, 10.2 to 12.1?
11.2.
11.2? I was close. I don't have any notes. Sorry.
That's right.
All right. So, but now we're going to raise 7% off of 6%, which is, I don't know, Missouri math is 13. So is there a reason why we're going so high above what we originally predicted to what we're going to right now?
Can you cover that?
Yep, absolutely. So we operate on, thank you, Travis. I appreciate your questions, and thank you for, you did really well. But I will say that we operate on a fiscal year, so 12 months. So every year at June 30th, we have to meet this rate covenant. And so the 6% increase that was done in October, that was only going to generate revenue for this fiscal year for 9 months of this fiscal year. All right, now we're left with only 4 months of this fiscal year, March, April, May, and June. So a 7% increase based on today's rates is what we need. So it's not compounded. We're not adding the two together. An easier way to look at it is to just think about total dollars. 6% rate increase back in October would give us about $1.5 million over a 12-month period. So for this fiscal year, we're going to get about $1.1 million of revenue from that rate increase. The 7% that would take effect March 4th would give us about $1.7 million over a 12-month period. Because we only have 4 months left of our fiscal year, it gives us about $570,000 for this fiscal year. So if you add the two together, it's about $1.6 of new revenue based off the two rate increases in this fiscal year. Does that make sense? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Travis. Up next is our Mayor, Darrell McCoy.
Good evening, John and board. The first thing that I want to ask tonight is I know that I've gotten some calls. I believe a couple other councilmen have gotten some calls as well about the timing of the meeting today at 4 o'clock. When I sat on the board, we did a rate adjustment. I asked for that to be moved back to a decent time for a public hearing for the majority of people that work that couldn't attend the meeting. We did that. I think we've done that twice now. This was kind of a late last minute decision. You guys had a special call meeting last Friday, I think, to have this today. I would ask on behalf of the people, not the council that's here can speak up if they would like, but based on some conversations today from some constituents, I would ask for you guys to consider having another meeting this week, later on this week at 5:30, 6 o'clock, to allow for additional comments from people that are unable to be here today.
I've had at least 16 people in the last couple of days really frustrated and upset with the timing of the meetings that they can't attend because they don't get off work till 5.
I had to walk out.
So that's my ask of you. I guess you could answer me now. You can think about it and decide at the end of the meeting or whatever. That's the first thing that I have. The second thing that I have is a question kind of for Paul. I was not able to attend the meeting last month, but I watched it online when you discussed the potential need for the 7%. When did you identify that need? When did you know, as the finance director, and were you communicated with management that you were going to have to propose this 7%? Was it in January, December? When was the hard line that you went, yep, we're going to have to pull this trigger? Yeah, I mean, if you just have a date or whatever.
So the 7% last month that we talked about real briefly, that's what you're talking about?
I'm just asking when you identified, when you went to your boss and said, we're going to have to do this.
So the 7%, I think we're talking about two different things. The 7% we talked about last month was in order to meet the requirements of our cash reserve policy, right? We run the board financials monthly. We see where we're at year to date, and then we determined what was additional needed to meet those cash reserve policies. This 7% rate increase from Winter Storm Fern was decided when we received the invoice from MISO, the $1.6 million invoice. So still the same 7% rate adjustment, different reasons behind it.
Maybe I'm not well educated. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I guess thanks for your answer. The question that I have with that is a question that I've been asked a lot. If you knew that this was coming, I think the biggest thing that I've heard is the planning, the failure to plan. What have you done to cut costs? What have you done to help avoid this rate increase? And when people, this is what I'm hearing. When people see that you go out and give raises, benefits are not looked at. I mean, the council gave you a clear direction. I mean, crystal clear direction on family insurance. I think there's some council members here that would like to know your reasoning on why you chose not to do that. I assume they'll speak and they can ask you that question. I'm not going to ask you that question, but it begs the bigger question of if you knew this was coming and you knew this was a strong possibility because you didn't get the full percentage that you wanted back in October, why weren't those things considered when you looked at raises, benefits, things like that you just negotiated with your union? I'm all for that. I think our linemen that are out there, all of those people that do a great job should have got more than 4%. They're putting their lives at risk just like our police and fire and everybody else. But if you don't have the money, the city for years and years and years, and Melissa's here, Mike Dobson's in the audience. How many times have our police and firefighters, street department workers gone with 0% raise, a 1% raise, because we're forced to live within our means? There's no more money there. And union contract or not, I know firefighters, when I was at the fire department, a 1% raise. That was collectively bargained with the union and the city. You can't go to an arbitrator and say, I want 10% when there's no money there. You're going to lose because there's no money. The city doesn't have the ability to just go raise taxes whenever they want to increase their benefits or put some more money in their savings account, whatever the case is. Here, I think the biggest rub from some people that are in the room and some people that I've heard is You guys can just do that whenever you want. You can say, hey, we're going to have a rate increase. We need to check these boxes. And things that make people scratch their head is you say, I need a 7% on the electric side, and then you look at your red line copy, your customer charge is also going up. So what's the, 7% is just on the purchase price of electric or the customer charge? We all know the customer charge pays for things like raises and benefits and vehicles and overtime and all that stuff. So 7% on the electric, the customer charge is going up as well. And I won't harp. I know there's a lot of people that want to talk. There's one last question. I've got a lot, but the one that I'm going to leave you with is Paul mentioned when he got done that you guys talked about the economic development incentive that you are taking out of the rate schedule, which is redlined in the copy that I think you submitted. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. When did you guys discuss that as a board publicly about changing rates?
Oh, I don't know.
Changing rates or taking that out?
Well, that would be a change, right? If you're going to remove something, that would be changing the rate sheet, which anytime you talk about rates, I'm not sure legally, I'm pretty sure legally, it'd be a James question, I think has to be open to the public. So my question is, when did you have that discussion about that?
I'd have to look back.
We had it in closed session.
It was in closed session.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just gonna jump up here. I'm fourth ward member, council member, city of Hannibal, Ewing Leader Jr.
You wanna hit that green button? Thank you, sir.
Did I hit it? Yep. Fourth ward, council member, city of Hannibal, Ewing Leader Jr. One thing we have as a council is a fiduciary duty to protect all of our citizens and their pockets, their money. So it would be totally irresponsible of the council as a whole to approve this without having cost-saving measures in place. So my question to you, Mr. Gordon, you're a nice guy. You know what you're doing. Will you commit to a written plan to cut the cost of capacity, for these ratepayers, and not just the spikes, not just cut the spikes? We need to cut the whole thing. These people are not happy with what they're paying for their electricity, and I'm one of them. I pay electric bills too. I don't like, my electric going up at any time. I like to just pay a normal bill just like everybody. You know what I mean? And will you commit to a written plan to of ways you are going to cut these costs? It doesn't have to happen overnight. But will you commit? I just need a yes or a no.
We have had quite a number of presentations from the general manager about things that are being done actively to limit costs. And there was a PowerPoint presentation that was put together that outlined at least 15 different items that had been looked at really closely, from not filling individual positions to tree trimming services to doing things in-house, and I can't verbatim remember each one of them. Excuse me. But that presentation is certainly available, and I think that's evidence that documentation has been done and it's been displayed in our meetings that things are being looked at pretty closely.
Yes, sir. But will you submit it to our council, is what I'm asking.
Submit that PowerPoint presentation?
No,
Certainly.
submit a written plan to reduce these costs of capacity, and not just reducing the spikes, but reducing the whole thing. We have to have a plan to reduce these costs, because every time something goes wrong, our ratepayers are getting their rates jacked way up. And, it's not fair to them. You know what I mean?
Well, unfortunately, we don't make the power. We're at the very end of the food chain, and we have little to do with the charges that we get. When we get a month where we have to pay an extra $1.5 million when we're expecting to be charged $500,000 or $600,000, that's a total surprise. We have zero control over it. So we can only put something together that shows that the hedging is done accurately with advice from consultants, that's actively being looked at. But unfortunately, we don't have any control over the amount of power that's being generated and the prices that we are given through MISO.
I understand that. But as a board, all of you all are really good at what you do. I will give you that. So you are good enough to raise these costs. And so therefore, you are good enough to lower these costs just the same way. And I need an answer, yes or no, if you all are going to submit in writing to the council of reducing these costs. All I need is a yes or a no.
How are we supposed to submit that when we're the bottom of the totem pole?
Well,
we have no say over what we're buying power for. We're basically getting the short end of the stick, just like everybody else. I don't like the bills either. I get a bill every month too, and I don't like paying it.
But you're the professional. These ratepayers don't know nothing about being able to lower their costs or anything like that. And I started this council in April of this year, and ever since I've started this, there's been several meetings with HBPW, and it's never about lowering the costs. It's always about raising the costs, and that's what these people are angry over. They do not want to do that. So we need a plan submitted to our council of what we can, of options. It don't have to be, like 100% exact. We just need options of what steps our HBPW can take, because the citizens own HBPW. You all don't own HBPW. And the people want to know what steps you are taking to cut these costs and not raise them.
I would like to say thank you for your passion, first of
Yes,
all.
ma'am.
And I'm thankful that you're looking out for your constituents. I feel a little responsible because a while ago we needed a rate increase, and I took it amongst myself to think that we could stair step it a little bit. So maybe just raise it a little bit, get people used to that, and then raise it a little bit more, and then if needed, raise it a little bit more, rather than hit them with a big 16% overall.
Yeah.
So to answer your question somewhat, I feel like we have done that. We were hoping the first rate increase would be enough. Well, things have happened that's made that not, come into play to where we have to raise it again. So we are very concerned also about the cost, that goes out to everyone. So I guess what I'm thinking is, a while ago, we could have raised it, was it 16%?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and maybe we wouldn't be here today asking for another rate increase.
Right.
Does that kind of put you where we're a little bit at today?
My problem is we got people in this town. Some are poor, some are lower middle class. Some of them disabled. They live on fixed incomes, and when you're wanting to, just gradually increase it. And it's going to be the same thing either way. You throw it all out there at once, or you stair step it. It's going to be the same thing for those people that cannot afford to pay it because they have no way to come up with the extra money. What about the elderly? What about the people that can't get out to make a little bit of side money or something, you know what I mean? To meet their, meet the cost. And I am not like, I'm not picking a fight with any of you. Like I said, you all are the professionals though, and you know way more about this than I do. But from what little bit of research I have done, I'm confident that you all can come up with ways in writing and submit to the council ways to reduce capacity, the cost of capacity, and not just come up with ways to reduce it when there's a spike, but we need to reduce it at the beginning of the year all the way through the year. You know what I mean?
Can I jump in quick, John? Can you send us what you have, PowerPoints and stuff?
Oh,
that you guys
absolutely.
talked about, and then I'll make sure that we get it to review, for you to review, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Is that good?
I would also like to say, I feel like as the board, it's my knowledge that we share most of our information or that the council has access to any of our information.
That's not true. I got on Teams today trying to find stuff and I couldn't find anything on there. I had to email Courtney and Beverly, so that's not true.
But if you do message them, they send it right to you.
They both emailed me back, but I wasn't able to get the information I needed for the meeting, which is fine.
And you all have the information out there, I agree. But what you don't have is the actual written plan in writing that says, we're going to do this to cut this, we're going to do this to cut this, we're going to do this to cut this.
They're gonna send that to, they're gonna work on sending that to us.
Well, I need a yes or a no right now.
Yes is the answer.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Leaders. Next up on our signature sheet is Amy Powell. If I'm reading that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what this first name is?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I surely appreciate it, and the green button is still on. Okay. So listen, I am very, very heavily involved in politics when it comes to local, state, federal, the whole kit and caboodle. I watch it all and very closely, okay? But tonight I'm here as a mom with a family. My next door neighbors have 6 children. They're keeping warm, they're keeping fed. Between the two of them, they're working 4 jobs. My husband and I have 1 child, blessed with 1 child. 2, 3 jobs. I've got several part-time jobs. That bill comes in the mail every single month. I'm damn near tears because I don't know. I've got every window in my house blocked off, every unnecessary heat register closed with blankets stuffed inside of them, the whole kit and caboodle, and I'm still paying $200 for water, sewer, and electricity. The thing is that I even have a separate meter on my garage, and month after month, my customer charges double what my garage electricity usage is. Not to mention the taxes and fees, mind you. Okay? So here, let's get down to brass tacks, because if you folks read this, a lot of you, rightfully so, are going to take that as, well, okay, that's the truth. Fact of the matter is, less than a week ago, Fox News and CNN both had huge headlining news saying, guess what? Fuel prices are down 7.5% year over year, and energy prices are down significantly and will continue to drop. Okay? So, hey, guess what? That's good news. Over the last few years, we didn't have that. Everything got up and up and up. You remember? $4 for a gallon of gas here in Hannibal. How ridiculous, right? I get it. We didn't control any of that, but we're the ones that had to pay for it. You're telling me, and I've owned businesses. My parents owned a very successful smokehouse out on Mark Twain Avenue until, unfortunately, my dad got sick with cancer. And also, that was during Biden's reign. And we couldn't afford the meat prices anymore to keep our doors open, to keep feeding people. That's the truth, okay? So the fact of the matter is, we got general inflation down to 2.4%. Back to the business thing here. That really sticks in my craw, You're telling me that what, corporate, huge businesses like what? I would assume, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not being facetious here. General Mills, Walmart, these bigger corporations, you're telling me they receive a discount for a handful of years? While we pay them, while we buy their goods and services? I can tell you what, being a small business owner, I'm 32 years old. I've been owning and running businesses, kid you not, God strike me dead, since I was my son's age at 9 years old. Okay? Not a once did I ever receive any kind of discount on electricity, goods and services, literally nothing. Materials, absolutely nothing. I can tell you, having opened up and ran that smokehouse, we didn't get any kind of discount. So small businesses and families are the ones that are having to suffer for all this, okay? We get it. All the stuff that looks nice on paper and everything, but when you walk through the front door, what actually matters is, are your kids safe and fed and warm, right? We can't guarantee this. The whole fact of the matter is, you guys are saying we need more money. We know we need more money. You can't get blood out of turnip. How's that for a Midwestern slogan there, okay? You can't get blood out of a turnip. So you're telling people that not only are our rates going to go higher, when I know for a fact that there's a handful of folks I know personally can barely eke out every single month's bill. You need more money. We already don't have it to give. But by golly, you need more money. So what does that mean? It means that less bills are actually getting paid, more shutoffs are happening, and Lord knows this department here, they just love late fees. They love disconnection fees, even though they've never even come to your house to disconnect anything. How you doing? Right? So my point is, I encourage you to read through this stuff. This right here, this made me laugh. Smart thermostats. Y'all realize that is one of the most easily hackable devices in your home? And you're advocating for it. That can get hacked into in seconds by a good cyber criminal. Okay? So I would highly recommend, this one too, in changing renewable energy incentives. Yeah, we all know, anybody with a capacity understands that the majority of renewables, windmills, solar, the whole kit and caboodle, it's fallible. It's not sustainable. So this climate agenda, all that bull crap, and there again, I'm not calling you out directly, but I did find it interesting that you quoted NPR and CBS and then said that was a broad point of view, broad spectrum of views. No, it's not. That's liberal socialist media is what that is. Those are not people talking for me, all right? And then Cindy O'Loughlin, this woman was championing for Grain Belt Express and for eminent domain to take over, including my parents' own farm. And when I contacted her directly through phone and email, I finally got an email back from her. You know what she said to me? I'm sorry your parents are losing their farm. After all these years, lots of people are losing their land. It's for the good of everyone. You realize what that is? That's Marxism. That's socialism. That's putting down the independence of the individual for the greater good. And I say, as a mom, as a constituent, as a taxpayer, and as a bill payer, hell no. I understand some things have to change. I get it. But y'all have to realize that this is a monopoly. It is not just the Board of Public Works. This is to keep us literally under lock, stock, and barrel so that we're broke and we're sick all the time. This is part of it. I've had my say.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
You don't want to know what the first name is.
Next one up, I can't read the first name because the one above and below kind of corrupted it. Last name Beetle. What's your first name? I'm sorry. It's Norma. Okay. So the Y from above swoops down and the R from above corrupts it. So I couldn't really see it.
My name is Norma Beadle. I'm a resident here of Hannibal, born and raised here. I want to recognize the board president, John Orthworth. Thank you for hosting this. Recognize the general manager, Darren Gordon. Thank you for your explanation. I'm sorry I missed the name in the blue jacket, but very good
Paul?
explanation, Paul. I want to especially point out our fabulous mayor. He is great. I've seen him at the city council, followed him. We are so blessed. And I have to point out my councilman, great, Scott Haycraft. always answer the phone. You got a question, a problem, stops his work, come talk about it. Let's see if we can fix it. We are blessed in that regard. And I'm highly impressed with the people that have preceded me. Wow. We got a really great community. Different people, different perspectives, but all of them so helpful. Okay, let's get to it. I want to thank you for this right here. Reliable utility products with excellent customer service, because I saw that the last few weeks with our storm. Hannibal Board of Public Works didn't let us down. I didn't lose power. My home was warm and comfortable. And it's because some people took extraordinary efforts to make that happen. And one night I heard noise out on the front of my house. What's going on at 2 o'clock in the morning? It seemed like it was 2. There was a Hannibal Board of Public Works truck with one guy up and down the streets, cleaning those streets, cleaning the snow off the streets, away from his family, working in the midnight hours so that we could get on that street the next day and go to the grocery store, get on that road. It wasn't ice covered. So I see that part really done well, and I want to say thank you. Now I want to focus on that part, reasonable prices. Okay, I'm asking all of you very smart, competent people, because we've seen your presentation. It's excellent. Couldn't be better. You did a great job of explaining the problems. Just a phenomenal job. And now let's look to solutions. I'm going to ask you to pursue some solutions, to open your mind, think beyond just this. Okay, it costs more. We're going to pass the cost to the public. That's one way of solving the problem, but there's others, and I want our board to pursue them. I'm going to ask on behalf of our people, not only those here, but everybody out here in our home, compromise. 7%, I'm saying, how about work with us? 3.5%. Compromise. Let's try to see if 3.5% will get us where we can be. Cut it in half. 7 down to 3.5. Work with us. Make a deal. Number 2, sunset. Whatever percentage, hoping it's 3.5 and not 7, that percentage we got to recoup, right? We got to recoup the money to put in the reserve fund. Whatever that is, it is a measurable, definable amount. Whatever's not was taken out of that reserve fund, we know how much, we can define how much it is. It's a specific number. When that number is reached, sunset the percent. Don't have that percent go 3.5%. Go on and on and on indefinitely. Have a life of its own. Stop it, sunset it, meaning stop it when you recover that defined amount needed to make that reserve where we got to have it. Don't leave it indefinitely. Okay, my senior friends, 65 and over, we can't get another job. We can't get a second job. We can't get a better paying job. We can't get 2 jobs. We're on fixed incomes. So we are cornered here. We got to have heat. We got to have energy. And where I see the fear of people that can't find another resource to pay. And I'm thinking of seniors because the seniors, we got a program where you can bring in your deed to your house and your bill, prove that you paid your real estate bill, bring in your driver's license, and you can get a break on the assessment of your house. Why can't we do that with our utilities? Why can't the seniors bring in give them a time, say you have this many days, this many months, you bring it in, you identify yourself as a senior over the age of 65, that you own your home, that you've paid your electric bill, you have a driver's license, give them a break. Give them a 15% discount on something. Maybe the whole bill, maybe part of the bill, give them a break. These are your grandmothers and grandfathers, your own parents. Give your own parents a break. Okay, last, let's pursue solutions beyond merely passing on the cost to the public. I think you did such a great job of explaining how this all works. Not that I understand it, but I got a notion. But let's not say our solution is to pass the cost on to the taxpayers. No, let's find another solution. That's one solution, but there's other solutions. Let's, with all the brain power I saw here, and there's a lot of it, there's other solutions that your brain power and your initiative can find other than passing it on to the taxpayer. Okay. Shop other providers. I'm just thinking of things. Maybe they work, maybe they don't. But you start thinking about it, and then maybe you come up with something related to it. Shop another provider. We don't have to have MISO, do we? MISO, maybe we do, maybe we don't. If you shop another one, like you would if you want to buy anything, you do shopping and find the best product, right? The best price. Negotiate with MISO or whoever is in between. Negotiate with them. Say, I need to negotiate this with you. Start negotiating. I have a question. If it's $1.5 million from this little community, what was it, a week or a day, are we subsidizing other regions outside of ourselves? That seems like a huge amount for our community. It's just a question I have. Maybe we should consider buying our own power. Let's see, how can we do that? The cash reserve policy. Okay, you bond people that are making money off the bonds, that are loaning us money. Negotiate with them. Hey, we want to change the terms of the bond. You say you have to have this amount. We want to give you this amount. You're making money off of us because you're loaning money, you're making interest. So we want to negotiate this with you. The cash reserve policy. Negotiate it. The rate, negotiate it. And so finally, I have one thing to say. I've heard it said we're the end of the food chain. It's out of our hands. We're at the bottom of the totem pole. And I want us to think like this. No, we're at the top of the food chain. We're at the top of the totem pole because it's money out of our pockets that's going to MISO. And if they got $1.5 million out of our pockets, that we have some bargaining chips, right? We have some bargaining. If they don't exist if we don't give them money, right? So we don't say, oh yeah, we're going to do what you said because we don't have any choice. We do have a choice. And if they want our money, they need to work with us. And so I just want us to think of something other than criticizing. Let's move it to, okay, we got a problem, perfectly identified. We have criticisms that are all well-founded. Let's move toward what solutions might there be. I don't think this solution is going to work. Okay, try it anyhow. Work on something. Your brain and your initiative can find a way for this to work. I'm asking for that. I'm not directing anything. I'm just trying to ask you, as our representatives, which thank you for that, and thank you for listening to everything, to give it a try and work a deal. Thank you.
Good points. Thank you very much. Next up, Bob Krasinski.
No comment at this time, just here as an observer.
Okay, cool. And next on our list is Bill and Denise Osborne.
We have no we thought it was just a sign-up sheet that
Oh.
you had to sign to come in.
Okay.
No, I'm commenting on nothing. Knowledge.
All right.
John, if I may add one more little thing.
Yeah, sure.
To go off of her point, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And that is no different here. I rest my case.
It's frustrating not to have control over costs. I get it. And
The point is that there's innovative ideas that even I tried to implement this time last year. Had tons of people tell me, oh, that's a great idea. I love that. Not a single person ever tried to even remotely implement anything. That's what kicked me so much about the whole corporate thing. They did have a discount, right? I get it, trying to incentivize it. You're not incentivizing small businesses, you're punishing them. When in reality, the biggest idea I had was when you've got a new big corporate-owned business moving into this town, have them pay a surcharge one time a year that helps cover these strategic reserves. They got the money. We don't. I'm sorry. I rest my case. I won't outburst again.
well, now the discounts you're talking about, is that the economic incentives that?
Whomever just said that up there, that corporate-owned businesses, to incentivize them to come to this town, they were given significant discounts on their power. That was what was just said at the beginning of this meeting.
The item that they were talking about, that Paul was talking about, is a program that was put in quite a long time ago to try to incentivize somebody to come. That program has only been used 3 times throughout the lifetime of the existence of that rate. And it's not like General Mills. It's a hotel came. They used it once. Somebody else, and it represents very, very, very little money, and it is totally not used, and it's not a big, huge corporate thing. It just happened to be one item in our rates that we are going to look at because it hasn't been used, and we don't know if a huge user came in, it would just not be affordable to offer.
No, because we're having to pick up the slack on that. I don't care if it's 3 times or 300 times. Regardless, corporations have the money, the attorneys, the everything to pay for these kinds of things. We don't. I let my point stand.
I agree. Okay.
It's not that big of a deal. Shouldn't have got brought up.
John, can I ask something real quick?
Yeah, please do.
Scott Haycraft, First Ward City Councilman. Paul, you had mentioned earlier about right now we're hedging everything. And would there be a potential to look at, instead of hedging next fiscal year, to look at fixed pricing and just kind of, I'm sure most of the time we do win at that, but a lot of times we lose at it as well. We don't have those massive swings. I mean, is that something feasible that we could look at to maybe stabilize those huge dips and keep it a little more
Again,
consistent?
but it's like Paul said,
Well, when
right
was the
now
last
it would
time
be
it was
about $80.
Okay.
And right now, for 300 days of the year, we're hitting $30. So we'd be paying that, we'd be doubling, 150% of our cost would be going to that sure and solid to avoid that one. So
But I mean, it'd still be something to review
We can
and
look at
present to council and to everybody to look at, and we could discuss why this is advantageous to go with the hedging versus the fixed price.
It's risk management.
Correct. I
bet.
Understand. Very good. Thank you. That was it.
All right. If Anybody else has something they'd like to bring up? Certainly enjoy listening to it. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to leave. I think it is. Is it supposed to be solid green or no? It's
Yeah.
working.
You're good.
Okay. A couple people have already brought up a couple points. I might circle back on a couple of them. But the Hannibal Board of Public Works managers have betrayed to the board that raising the rates is simply an inevitable outcome of factors that are beyond the control of management. And this is 110% incorrect. The increases were foreseeable and 110% controllable. And actually, Darren, your report from May 17, 2022 board meeting clearly had knowledge of the situation hanging over the city's head, although did nothing about it. And at the time didn't even provide any type of suggestions, just kind of swept everything under the rug. So the Board of Public Works Management frequently states there's no new industry coming in, so we have no way to increase revenue. However, that statement fails to recognize the fact that the issue is not necessarily incoming revenue, but rather available revenue, as in you're thinking that's the only way that revenue is coming in, but it also ignores the fact that you could reduce expenditures to help with that revenue. The Hannibal Board of Public Works was specifically directed by council to adjust the employee health plan, which is funded directly by the ratepayers when the contract was up in December 2025, yet deliberately did not. Why is that?
We did. We absolutely did. We asked that. That's what we specifically asked the lawyer to talk about and to bring down the rates.
So why wasn't it?
The union decided. It's a negotiation. We have no. I mean, we really have no say in that negotiation because they've given up everything. They wanted to keep their health insurance. So everything else was off the table. That was the only thing they got out of the negotiations.
God.
Did they?
Yeah, they got a 4% increase. I mean, to put it in retrospect, the COLA increase for all Social Security recipients this year was 3.5%. Yeah, it is a lot bigger than
The 4% raise total wise annual salaries, what is that amount?
I don't know.
Could somebody
I
call maybe?
Get a calculator out and figure it.
Paul, do you have that number?
Say it again.
The 4% raise across the board, what is that total number for all the salaries that would include?
Yes,
Millions?
we're about, I mean, just to boil it down, don't have these exact numbers. So we're about $5.5 million in salaries across electric, water, and sewer funds. And so 4%, let's see, 1% would be about 55,000. Multiply that by 4, 220,000.
And Paul, you might mention that we've given the union has gotten their raise, but non-union is not. It's not across the board.
Right.
So I know that the mayor had already brought this up, but this is the past 10 years raises of city, several years 0, several years 1%. And anybody budgeting.
What are you looking at there? You said
Here,
that's
you're more than if you want to
when
pass that down.
I just generally, what is it? I don't need to.
In regards to raises
For who?
for city employees.
City employees,
And
okay.
specifically when it comes to, okay, this is going to get passed off onto the ratepayers. If you don't, and I know Daryl also said this, if you don't have the money, you don't do it. So if essentially you're needing to cover this expense and yet you're giving raises, that doesn't really exactly align when you're supposed to be doing what is in the best interest of the ratepayers, which your fiduciary obligation is to the owners of the utility, which is the ratepayers, the citizens. Your duty is not to the Board of Public Works management. It's to the ratepayers, the citizens. And I totally appreciate her going like this, saying this, because the last two words, you call this reasonable price?
So this is
Like-
the city of Hannibal.
That's what I just
Okay.
said.
I thought you said cities across I heard it wrong.
Period, point blank. There are so many people that have contacted me terrified, that they're not going to be able to afford this. And let me tell you, I'm not too prideful to say this, but it was either a month or 2 months ago, my utilities got disconnected because I didn't call by, I think it was 3:30. I actually called 3 minutes late because I didn't have service in Palmyra. And yet my utilities were disconnected. And they said if I wanted to get them reconnected, I had to pay $150. All for them to reconnect it over the phone. Not a man coming out and connecting anything over the phone manually. How many cuts have we made since we went automated? Cutting that cost right there from manpower to automated, that should have been huge cuts cost. Yet I had to pay $150 because I was 3 minutes too late calling to pay over the phone with my card because I couldn't on the app. And if we're doing what is in the best interest of the citizens, the ratepayers, can you, like, if I was a single mother and had children worrying about my pipes freezing in the middle of winter, mind you, like, we are not doing what is in the best interest of the citizens by continuously raising rates, but yet we're making no cuts. What cuts were made to prevent this from happening is what I would like to know. Because surely giving raises was off the board. That was not going to happen. So my question is, what cuts were made to prevent the raise from happening, this current raise from happening?
Well, the raise is indicative of the cost of power to buy it. And it's simply covering that.
So what cuts were made?
What cuts to
What
our ability
cuts
to negotiate
internally
the
were made?
prices.
And so you also thought that giving a 4% raise, like, financially was a smart decision?
Well, you have to incentivize people to be willing to stay on and get up at 2 a.m. and go fix things. And if you lose a few bodies just because you're not keeping up with the market that they might be able to go work somewhere else at, you're damaging the long-term capabilities of the company to be able to provide reliable service when you need it.
So what other
it's
cuts
all
have
in
been
the
made then?
scheme of being able to provide the services that are required and keep the people here and keep them incentivized to do what they do with their dangerous jobs and be on call the way
So
they
what
are.
cuts have been made and or suggested to make to
Cuts
help
to
with
what?
this?
Cuts to offset, okay.
Any type of cuts.
Well, the reason for this increase is because the cost went up. So when the cost goes up like this, and that's all we're collecting, you're talking about cuts to the cost. It'd be great if we could cut the increase in the costs, but we don't have control over that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm saying just like when we do our budget, correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, or anybody here, you have to make cuts to your office, to whatever. They were cutting office supplies down to minimum, just like helping with any type of cutting of cost. You know, whether it's not giving raises that year, there's many years that the city was not able to give any raises whatsoever. Cutting office supplies, whatever. Like, you can't tell me that there's no way you can't cut any minimal amount versus, oh, let's just have the ratepayers pay it.
Mr. Leaders,
Well, actually, I don't have it in front of me, the exact costs that were cut. But I do know the council asked us to do that. But at the same time, the council also asked us to foot the bill for, help me here,
Oh,
the Boyhood Home
Molly Brown
and
House and
the Molly Brown House.
and the
Also,
Visitors Bureau.
the council expected us to take on $125,000.
Isn't that just another department of
We
the
just ask you
city?
to follow what you guys say that you do, because in your yearly audit, every year that I've looked back from Williams Keepers, it says, when you tout all the accomplishments that the board does for the community, which is a lot, don't get me wrong, there's a bullet point every year that says, we provide free utilities for all city-owned property. It doesn't say city-owned property that's funded by a bed tax, or city-owned property that's funded by a police and fire tax, or city-owned property this, and this. It says, this is what we did as a board. All we did was ask you to follow that.
No, you demanded. And then you
still
said
haven't
if we didn't, that you would
Not pay it, and we still haven't paid it.
not
We
pay
will
it. So you guys aren't even paying your own bills.
We
And
own,
then,
we own the utility.
We own the utility.
Yeah.
We represent you. We were voted.
Represented.
That's it. We represent you. I'm a taxpayer
Correct.
and a utility payer.
Yes, sir.
We own it,
That's right.
not you.
And then you also asked us, excuse me, we're trying to run this meeting here.
Period, point blank, that is potentially something that can be revised in the charter. To me, that's neither here nor there. Like,
Well, it is when you want us to cut things, but then we get demand that we have to pay for things also.
but again, is that not in the charter or your guys' ordinance? I'm saying maybe that is something that can be revised down the road. I'm talking about in-house cuts that can be made. Every year, each department comes and is like, these are the cuts we made, or this is what we need.
Costs. I don't have them in front of me right now, but we made the Board of Public Works cut a lot of costs.
Okay,
No, they
that's-
did not
that's
cut
what I'm-
raises, but they did cut costs. Somebody
And those
listed
are-
some of them
and
earlier.
those are going to all be documented in the PowerPoint presentation that Mr. Leader's asked to send over, and we'll definitely do that.
Okay.
It's very comprehensive. It's
So then my next question
took like
directly is going to
90
be for
minutes
Darren,
ago.
since you've known about this looming overhead with capacity and everything, and with, I realize there's probably 2 previous managers with the purchasing of the, I think it was like 8 or 10 generators, that whole fiasco. You came on as the manager knowing that, and with this looming overhead of the capacity, knowing that, and since how many years have you been employed with Board of Public?
4 years.
So in 4 years, what have you proposed or brought to the board to say, this is what we need to do, so this is not a continuing problem to continuously be taken out on the ratepayers? What have you proposed to them over the last 4 years since you have known about this?
Unfortunately, the explanation of why the rates are going up is because the cost went up. And
Yeah, you've said that a couple times now,
the
John, and I'm not
cost-
trying to be disrespectful because I would like to have a mental break before the council meeting tonight. I would like Darren to specifically answer what he has brought to you guys to help with cutting costs, knowing about this looming overhead.
We've had reductions
Looming overhead, what are you talking about? This,
Darren clearly knows what I'm talking about, and I, again, don't want to waste any time. Darren, can you answer, what have you brought, knowing about this overhead, to the board to propose to help financially with not moving forward with certain increases?
So we follow everything that's up there. The mission statement is to provide safe, reliable utility
Not the last 2 words.
products with excellent customer service at a reasonable price. It absolutely is.
Oh.
If you look exactly what we showed on that scale to begin with, we are at the top third of the lowest rates in all of Missouri. Now, this is tough to say, but nationally and in Missouri, everywhere,
As
the
far as
cost of
capacity?
electricity is going up. In other words, if I have to buy, let's say I'm selling a bottle of beer and the bottle of beer goes up to $3, if I don't charge for that $3, then I'm going to go out of business. But right now, I have to buy power, and I have to take that power and I distribute it.
It's kind of funny that you actually
And
say that.
everything that we have, we run a very, very, very tight ship. And we've already taken and we've reduced areas. We have the number of people that's required to run an electric company. We have the number of people that's required to run a water distribution, a water treatment facility, a wastewater treatment facility, a wastewater collection facility. We have to be able to bill it and collect it, and we're able to do that to the penny. We do it with a very, very small skeleton staff. We also have customer service, which is the absolute skeleton staff. We have excellent employees.
Staff, really.
And every one of them is busy, they work hard, they work safe, and they
So you're
provide
saying
those
best
utilities.
prices as far as rates?
Absolutely. If you look at what we're going to
But
be
that's
doing,
not covering-
we're looking at what we're doing the next thing. Where we
Salaries.
talk about all of the statistics that we have that show it. We're absolutely competitive. We are not the highest salaries in Northeast Missouri, and that's who we have to take and work against. We've got Ameren. We've got all of the Rawls County. We've got the people around us. We have excellent customers. We have excellent employees that we're going to maintain, and we're going to keep them. And for us to take and cut their rates or to cut their current services, that's the next thing. Do you want us to go ahead and start going black? We could start turning off the power,
I
couple
mean,
days,
if you
couple
have
days a
employees
week
that are
so
working
we can
at
do
the
that.
amount, and
That's what we're doing.
They-
And so
but
when
you're doing a
when
4%
we have
raise.
a $1.5 million hit in our electricity, I could fire everybody. for the next 3 months, have 0 employees, and we still wouldn't be able to make that bill.
So fancy me this, because Paul, you said that you guys are trying to get to the minimum bond rating, which would be 25%, right? Right? Let's talk about why the bond rating plummeted.
Yes, let's do that. Because we tried to have rate increases to pay for the power that we're
The Board of
getting
Public
to
Works
make
is
the
the reason why it
covenants,
plummeted.
to meet the covenants, and we were not allowed to do it. The reason we were downgraded was not, it was because we didn't follow our own covenants.
Well,
Which is
furthermore, with
exactly what we're
increasing
talking
rates,
about.
the
So
Board of
Paul
Public Works
talked
kept
about
trying to
needing to
foot the
do a
bill
7%.
with,
We needed to do the 7% in order to make both the ratio and our own internal covenant of our reserve fund. Because of this increase in cost, we're only going to shoot for one of those. We're going to shoot to make that sure that that ratio is met by the end of this year, by the end of our fiscal year. We're going to have that discussion with our covenant. It was not downgraded because we can't pay our bill. We were downgraded because we're not following our own covenants. And that's what's going on. And
so what are
we can
you
cut
doing
departments,
specifically to fix the capacity problem?
We are building a Northeast Power Generation project in which we are a
How much is that going to
participant.
cost the ratepayers?
It's going to cost us about $60 million over the next 30 years. That is a significant planning, significant step, and that's to take care of the capacity issues. That's exactly what this board has done.
Generators that we've never needed
That is absolutely
before.
outside. No, these are turbines, not 10 electric. Frankly, if we'd have kept those 10 generators, perhaps that would have changed what happened. But what happens is we make emotional decisions instead of long-term decisions, which we're trying to do.
I wouldn't say emotional, I would say ignorant decisions.
That's
but-
fine. But what we're doing
April,
is we are actually planning and
Please
making
give
those things
respect to the
happen.
people that deserve
You
it.
guys sure have not respected us, nor have you respected the ratepayers.
What we need to do is to
And nothing I
understand
said
what we're
was
talking
disrespectful.
about.
It was fact. It was true.
You know, please, the cutting people off is so Jerry Springer.
And yet you guys have repeatedly cut me off multiple times, not just this meeting, but previous meetings. By all means, go back and watch.
I can't bring up instant recall on historical meetings that might have rubbed you the wrong way. But what we're talking about right now is trying to answer your questions. And when Darren or anybody else is, the snipey comments and the cutting off is just not professional.
And you've been professional. Yeah? Okay.
Is that a
Just want to make sure. So since October of 2023, there has been a 31.5% increase with 3 raises. If this 7% passes, that's literally 38.5% in, I think it's 28 months. So is it going to be another 4 months before we try to raise them again, or when's the next raise going to be?
We will absolutely.
I need to let families know, because they're probably going to have to move out of town. They're not going to be able to afford it.
So perhaps going back to my information, I should have left up the written explanation, because what's happening to this nation's power, we are truly interconnected, okay? Even though Paul, he was asked the question very appropriately, do you know where that electron comes from? No. There are hundreds of generators throughout this nation. Everybody's putting power into that grid. All of the distributors, we have to take and measure, and we all take our piece, and that's measured every single day, every 15 minutes, to make sure that there's enough electricity going in to be used. You can't put a whole bunch in because it'll shut down the entire grid. You've got to have the same amount going in that you're using, and it's a very, very delicate dance. The problem is this: you've got federal regulations that have decided that solar and renewables, wind, are the cat's meow. And the problem is they're on and they're off, they're on and they're off, they're on and they're off. And so you have to have a generator on the side that makes up that difference. And that generator is expensive. So that by having those renewables in that system, in and of itself, it builds in volatility. And all the volatility brings prices up. The second thing that's happening is that we're having a larger increase in the demand for power. Everybody has your phone at home being charged. You've got LED lights, they're small, but when you've got 330 million people doing that, the demand for electricity goes up. There's also the electrification of America. We want more electric vehicles. So there's more people plugging in. That's causing greater demand. There's also now things called data centers. And we're talking gigawatt data centers, massive amounts of electricity. And so we're pushing our grid to where we don't have the capacity to provide it. And when supply is shorted, demand goes up, so does the price. There is nothing in the volatility of the electric system that's in the next 10 years that they're talking about pushing it down. Now, I can still say it absolutely is. They can also say that there are definite technologies that hopefully can make that come down, but everything that we're seeing is that pushing it up for more cost.
That's not true, but also, I just have one more thing I need you to confirm. In your contract, Darren, it specifically says that you are to make sure that you do not put the board in financial jeopardy to where it could affect the bond rating. Does it not?
It does.
And yet, you've been employed 4 years, and every single year that you have been employed, the board has been in financial jeopardy.
And have my recommendations been met? I have recommended a 16% raise. We didn't get it. So I've done my job to take and bring to this board every single recommendation to keep us out of that jeopardy. It's been the choice and the pressure of other things that have brought that down.
And yet every single year in your
And I would argue
contract,
absolutely that I have not put this place in jeopardy.
and
but it's
every
others.
single year in your contract of employment, you've given yourself a raise. So you're currently making $231,000
No.
currently? How much are you currently making?
210.
210?
You
So
bet.
it'll be next year when you get the 230 then,
I'd have
according to
look at
your
my
salary.
contract. It is
or
per contract. It was per the signed contract, absolutely.
Yeah, this is actually the contract that you brought back to the council to have signed when the previous city manager revised hers too. This was you bringing that, pushing that on the
good.
board to sign off on. No?
I have no idea. I don't know.
You don't know
I
if
don't know
you
what
brought
your
this?
I don't know what your city did.
No,
I
this
deal
is
with the
your
board.
employee contract. Did you or did you not, after the previous city manager brought a contract for herself to have amended, did you or did you not present a
I
new
did not.
contract?
I can guarantee you, I do not
Really?
deal
Because
with
this
the
is your
previous city
signature right
manager.
here. This is your signature
I
on what
guarantee
you
you, I
have brought
did
to
not
the.
do anything with your previous city manager.
That's not my question. Did you or did you not bring a new employee contract with terms of a
After
annual
my previous
raise?
3-year, I have a 3-year contract. I completed that contract. I have signed a new one. And if that's the new one, that's the new one.
So you're denying bringing a new
I'm not
employee?
denying anything.
Okay, this is
Okay.
a rate hearing
Yeah,
and
thank
comments. We're kind of getting off tangent. I think we pretty much scrubbed most of the issues that have to do with the public hearing, rate hearing. You have got something? Yeah.
So the 7% is to make what we,
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Ryan,
Ryan, okay.
the 7% raise is to cover what we need to get to to the fiscal year, correct?
Yes.
Is there any way that in the rate hearing or the negotiation or whatever that the 7% is only until the fiscal year and then it goes back down?
I would say there's enough things in motion. As Paul said, that 7% will still see us losing $200,000 in our reserve fund by that June period. I think we will have to bring the financials back to this body, present them again come the end of June, and then make decisions from there.
That's, I guess that I understand, but that's not going to help every single citizen to not know that it's not a possibility.
All we can say is this is going to needs to be in place and up to June 30th, and that we will review and bring again back to this body what our financials are.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, when I asked my question earlier, we kind of got pulled off, but I was going to finish what I was going to say. I wanted to give everyone else enough time to speak. So I retire next month. My ultimate goal was to come out here and retire and live in this town. I grew up right down in Bowling Green, Missouri, and I love this area. I love Missouri. I've always loved Missouri. I said earlier that I was an implant from California. I hope the place falls off, all right? I don't like California, all right? And I don't want to see this place become California. Unfortunately, what I see is California-ish type spending, all right? Everyone's riding around, and if it hurts, got a saying for it, might be a little bit true, all right? Everyone's rolling around brand new trucks. I love me a new truck too, but I buy what I can afford. I want a brand new 3500 dually. You know what my wife said? Well, I can't say it on this, all right? So I got a 1500, all right? That's what I was able to afford. And unfortunately, what I see going up and down the road is I see a lot of brand new trucks. I see a lot of brand new equipment. And great, yes, absolutely, we need this for the infrastructure. But what I'm trying to say is I retire next month, all right? When I retire, I become what's called a fixed income. Yes, I'm young. I got it, whatever. But that's what my career decisions made me do. That's what I've done. My electric bill right now, and I ain't afraid to admit this, my electric bill right now is my Hannibal bill is $363 per month. I got here a year and a half ago. And in that year and a half, I have seen nothing but rate increases. All right, I've had my electric go up. I've had my electric go up. Had my water go up. Had my water go up. And this is on the city just as much. Well, not city, really the county. Someone failed to do their jobs. All right, and I'm the one that has to pay for it, not the county official, the tax guy up at Marion County, sitting in his little hole back there. My taxes went up on my house 50% because somebody failed to do an audit on my house before I bought it. So I've had nothing but rate increases. I came out here with a fixed income mindset. I have savings. I have a daughter in college. I have a daughter in high school. Don't even get me started on the high school because they're blowing through money quicker than I've ever seen in my life. All right, I got it. We all want the brand new, shiny, new stuff. Sometimes you just don't need it. All right, a shovel works just as good. I worked for 4 years down for the city of Louisiana. You know what I dug most of water mains with? A pick and a shovel. All right, that was back in 2006. Anyone around ever go down to Louisiana, Missouri back in 2006 when they did the downtown revitalization project? I got buried in a trench down there. All right. I'm not saying that like, oh, yeah, hey, look at me. I'm a cool guy. I'm saying that because, yes, the new stuff is nice, but when we're talking about cost cuts and stuff like that, we don't need a brand new truck here, brand new truck there. We don't need to continuously have these rate increases because what are these rate increases going to do? They're going to push people like me out. I came out here to retire. I can't retire if I can't have a fixed, hey, this is what my bill is going to be year to year. Right? If I get a 2% raise, but on my retirement, but then I also am having to pay out 7 or 8% or 10%, or what you're proposing is 16%, that starts to go up. Now I'm starting to go negative. Now I'm having to go out and get a job again. I didn't just serve 20 years to go out and have to get another job. I don't want my wife to work. We used to be a great country. We used to be a great state. We used to be a great city. We need to go back to those things. We need to quit with all this brand new stuff. We need to quit trying to sit here and spend money frivolously because I'll tell you what, the one thing that really grinds my gears is the fact that when I try to request information or I try to request anything, I got to pay for that information. When I request, hey, how much money was spent on this? Well, you bring us $140 and we'll give you the paperwork on it. Sunshine law, whatever the heck you want to call it, I don't care. That's ridiculous. You guys should be pretty transparent with those costs. It should be plastered out there. All right. Any other city that I've ever been a part of, it's literally I go up there, ask them a question, I get it. Here it's like it's pulling teeth. Not to mention the school board. They gave me a bill. I'll tell you who it was too. Ted Sampson gave me a bill for over $100 just to get some simple paperwork because I wanted to see what the costs were because I feel like we're wasting money. We're just throwing money away. If you want to throw it away, throw it out to the people. I'm not trying to say this to be a butthead or anything like that, and I'm really trying to watch my language. So if I let one slip, I apologize. But I'm sick and tired of seeing that there's just a waste of money. I think I was Mr. Mayor. I was there a couple months ago at City, and I talked about nothing but safety. I'm not just a one-sided guy. All right, I'm pretty well out there. Like I have I can look at both sides of the table. I understand you guys are between a rock and a hard place. Completely understand that. If we do the 7% increase, I don't want to see it being a 7% increase 2 months from now. I don't want to see it being another 7% increase. We need to start cutting costs, and we need to take a look at what we're doing that is making it to where we have to continue to raise these costs or raise the percentages to the people, because the people eventually they're going to be like, hey, I can't pay the bill. And then you're going to have people sitting down at their houses with no power. And then what's going to happen? Who's going to take care of them? Does anyone have a plan for that?
I share your sentiment. It's a bad feeling not to have any control over what people charge you. It's monopolistic in a way.
Absolutely it is. And it's like, in my opinion, it'd be illegal if it was a monopoly. That's what I was taught in school anyway.
Mm-hmm. These days, the power generators have gotten so big and regulated by so many government organizations that unless we generate our own power and have it here and don't rely on anybody else, the way the politics and the corporate works, we're just subject to the rate changes that they provide us.
Do we have anyone going to their board meetings if they even have them? Do we have anyone petitioning for the city of Hannibal? You give me a name and I'll go find them.
Well, we rely on MISO to represent us.
Where are they at?
I thought I saw they were on the side.
Indiana.
Indiana?
Yeah.
Do they have, I mean, just a comment, I mean, that's a good question. Do they have public meetings that,
I don't know.
do you know, Paul, or?
Yeah, some.
Yes, they do.
I'm not, like I said, I understand your guys' position, rock in a hard place. I understand, like, hey, you fell in on it, now you're dealing with it. But there's also, what's the way forward, right? And if we're going to sit here and just keep saying, well, rate increase, and you're going to continuously, because this is a small crowd, considering population 17,000, right? I would consider, I mean, a lot of people might still be at work. What the mayor said, I would probably put these a little bit later so that people can get off work. I walked out. I wasn't missing this one. I missed the last one. I wasn't missing this one. And I think that, if there's a way forward, if there's a way of cutting costs somewhere else, if there's a way of introducing something to the city that can help us not continue to raise rates, that's for sure. Because, like I said, eventually, I don't know if you guys have even thought of the plan of, what if you have, you raise it that $20 too much, and you have, instead of one family without power, you have 100 families without power. What are you guys going to do in the middle of winter? You're going to have a warming shelter? What's that going to cost the city? Because they're your residents. They're your people. Are they going to fall in on other families? There has to be a crisis plan. If you don't have that, you're wrong. And if you raise the rates too high, that's exactly what's going to happen. I can afford it right now, but when I retire, if it raises, I won't be able to. That's all I got to say, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for serving our country also.
Yeah, Norma, thanks.
John, Darren, will you work with us? Find a way. Work with us on a 3.5%. Work with us on a sunset. Work with us on your son negotiating a change to that covenant. It seems like, it's a covenant, we can't break it. Well, we can negotiate, we can work. So I'm just saying, can we calm this down? Will you say, yes, I'm going to work with you to find a compromise? So, John, will you work with us?
We've looked at everything possible, and the rate covenant, let's say it's a leasehold agreement that's held by a bank, and that bank has offered us money in exchange for a 4% interest leaseback agreement on hardware and wires and transformers. In that agreement that we signed, which is in 2022, we said, loan us the money and we'll agree to do these things. It's about a $10 million financial instrument going through a bank that handles probably 700 or 800 million every month. And one group that comes in with a $10 million loan requesting to have that stipulation changed, we can ask them. But right now, the situation is what we've agreed to is already in place. And they're like the person that holds your mortgage. If you don't comply with the bank, they have rights to do certain things that nobody wants. Going back after the fact and saying, we can't do this or won't do that. And that's just on the rate covenant. On the prices that we pay for these big spikes in electricity, in order to just cover those, that's what the 7% is. There are two pieces, like we talked about. The 7% will only make us lose $250,000 out of reserves by the end of this fiscal year. We're not adding money back to the reserves, which if we were to do that according to our reserve policy, the rate increase would have to be around 25%. So it's difficult to say, okay, if we're going to change it from a 7% to 3.5%, what we're consciously agreeing to is to, instead of losing $250,000, we're going to lose $2 million. And that is fiscally irresponsible. So I'd love to say there's wiggle room, but the 7% is the bone. It's not the fat or anything else. And unfortunately, we're in that situation, which is not fun to be in, where we don't have control over the rates that they send us. Now, we do have policies in place that if our rates are too high and our reserves start being built up too quickly, it's our responsibility to take those rates down. But we're on the short end of that big wave. We're not on the height of the wave. We're in the bottom of the wave right now.
You're really smart and clever. You can find a way through this. It may not be the 3.5%. It may be some other way. But will you and Darren, these smart people, talk, think, ask, and see if you can find something that might work? And even though you have a covenant that's already agreed to, it can be amended, it can be modified. If we can find something that the covenant holder, maybe we got to find a way for them to benefit. You know, they've got to find a benefit, but we have to find a way to you're doing the best for your citizens, but can you do more? You can do more. I know you can do more. I know, just give it a try.
We're going to look at everything possible.
Give it a try. Whether it might work, it might not work, but give it a try. Mm-hmm. You're on our side too, because you're a consumer. You pay the bills too.
Mm-hmm. Mine's going up too.
And so all I'm saying is, will you say, yes, we're going to review this, relook at it. We're going to try and see where it goes.
Absolutely.
What do you say? Can you say yes to that?
Definitely going to try.
Great. Darren?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
John.
Oh, yes, hi.
I'm sorry. I think enough's been said. I think pretty much everything's been covered. I don't think anybody in here is going to envy having your seat tonight. But the thing that really kind of has frustrated me is that we've said we've known this for years, and we've talked about this. 16% just a couple of years ago is what was discussed, got knocked down to 9%. Came back again 6% last year. Here we are just a few months later, looking back for another 7%. I mean, I think there's a lot of great things for the future, especially with the Northeast Power project. I think that's going to be great. That doesn't help us right now. What I think the biggest issue is not just the rates, but the public perception that I'm hearing from people in here as well as that have been contacting me. The talk about the vehicles, the trucks, or this, that, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of cuts that are being taken place, that there's very much sacrifice that's been made. And I think that, and maybe there has been, I'm not saying there hasn't, but it's not being seen, it's not shown. And I think that's where we have this overlap, that things are still being spent, raises, the family medical insurance not being decreased through there. You have a lot of those, and then you add to that, now you're also increasing rates because, and I do believe that there's a lot that is undone, because of those MISO rates. But I think we really need to work on that as well. And I think that's a problem that you have that's really hurting the situation. The meeting, 4 o'clock, I know your normal meetings start at 4 o'clock. But I've had multiple people contact me, say that you guys are doing this just so they can't come to this meeting. I know that's not the case, but that's kind of one of those things that are seen out there. So I would just really urge you all to really kind of put more of that out there and think more about the citizens through there. Because when it comes down to it, I think the city council, the city, all the city departments, as well as the Board of Public Works, we've got to work together in all of this. Some people are going to see this and they blame the city because they don't know there's a difference. And then other people's are vice versa. It's just not very well known and seen out there. So perhaps we can work together a lot better. When we talk about the tourism, that's just one example. And really, when we're talking about the numbers, that's a small bit, in comparison to what everything else is. I understand the argument on both sides of that. But again, this is one of those things where we have to work together, and there has to be some area to work. So, thank you, guys.
Good point. Thank you. Okay, where are we? I think we've been through left to right, A to Z. Do I have a movement to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll adjourn for the public.
In a
meeting.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody, very, very much.
Awesome.